Hey, Growth Squad. Welcome to another episode of the Eugene Hamilton podcast. How you doing? Hope you've been having a good week so far. Hope that life has been great and grand. Are we preparing? Yeah, we're getting ready for the summer. Kids out of school, all kind of stuff. Maybe not just yet, but as you're gearing up, I'm hoping that positive things are happening for you and your family. I hope that you are trending in the right direction, and that all things, as you know, are continuing to work together for your good. Let's pray. God, thank you for this time together. Thank you for my friends, no matter where they are. Remind them that you are with them. You're right by their side. In your name, amen. I want to talk a little bit today about your environment. And let me encourage you. In fact, you should talk more about your environment. And when I mean talk more about it, I'm not saying complain about it. I'm not saying you should be out here doing the most with regard to talking about it. You should be talking to yourself about what your environment is doing to you, or doing through you, or doing for you. What is your environment? Because you do know full well, and I remember I was talking to a group of middle schoolers not too long ago, and I talked to them about, this whole idea that oftentimes when you're in middle school, let's say you're 11, 12, 13, you cannot control your living environment. Yeah. You have to live where your parents, your grandparent, your guardian, whomever the adult in your life is. Typically, you have to live where it is they can afford to live. If that's in a nice community, then that's what it is. If that's in a not so nice community, that's what it is. So typically, people who are under the age of 18, or people who are living with someone else who they are dependent on, you typically can't choose your environment. Okay? You can't choose your environment. I remember growing up in my neighborhood, we called it the Gap. And it was so interesting. We called it the Gap. It wasn't like the official name of the neighborhood, but it was like we filled in the gap between the hood, right, and neighborhoods that were decent in our city. In other words, we were like, we weren't super duper like down in the ghetto, and we were not lower middle class at all, but we were like in the gap. And I'll give you a case in point. And I need to do a study on this. Most of the people in my neighborhood were working, responsible individuals. For instance, the guy across the street from me growing up, he had his own plumbing business, right? Now, it wasn't as booming as the plumbing business is now, but he was a plumber, decent living, had a decent home. The guy next to him had a little lawn care business that right, that's how he made his living. The guy next to him was an assistant high school football coach. So decent working class individuals who did not have a lot of money, right? But they weren't low enough on the earning pool to get food stamps, right? And prior to my mother coming up in the world, we were on food stamps for a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. My point is, we lived in a neighborhood where we again we were not the ghetto, but we were not people who had Nintendos and TVs in our rooms, right? And so when I think about that environment growing up, all of my buddies, if their father wasn't in their home, their biological, they at least had a stepfather in their home. Check it out. And that stepfather, for the most part, as I just mentioned to you, was an individual who made an honest living. They would go to work. They would come home. Some of them would play catch in the street with us. In fact, many of us in the summertime, we would jump on. My father owned a stump grinding and tree removal business. And so we would be on the back of the trucks doing what we got. And so our environment wasn't the best. Because again, we lived in the gap. And so if you were to go to the main street and turn left and go down a quarter of a mile, you would hear gunshots and gangbanging, right? If you came out the street and went to the right a quarter of a mile, you would see nice manicured yards, right? So we were in the gap. But we couldn't control our environment. right? What we could control, though, was the company that we kept. What we could control, though, although we couldn't control our environment, there were crackheads on one end of the street. There were people on the other end of the street doing their thing, right? And so we couldn't control that environment. But you can always control who you choose and who you allow to influence you on a micro level. You can't control macro. You can control who you allow to influence your thinking. You can control who you allow to get close enough to you to engage in things that they're engaged in. So when was the last time you took an audit of your circle? An audit of the people, the three closest people to you. When was the last time you took an audit of what they bring into your life? When was the last time you took an audit of what you bring into their lives? That's just as important. Understand this. Because we live in a society where everybody wants to take, right? What kind of value are they adding to me? Valid question. What kind of value are people bringing my way? At the same token, ask yourself, my friend, what kind of value are you adding to other people? I see people all the time who want to create content, who want to get a following. And I'm like, well, what kind of value are you adding to people? Are people better off because they listened or they consumed your content? Or was it just something that sounds like somebody else already said? Is the needle moved by the fact that you took a camera out or you took your phone out and you shared a message or you had some information to give? You know, it's funny because there are people who, there's a lot of noise. I put it that way. There's a lot of noise in the world today, whether it's the internet, whether it's one of those apps, Hulu, Peacock, Tubi, all of the above. There's a lot of noise today. And here's the interesting part. You and I, with the push of a button, can choose what noise is the loudest in our lives. With the push of a button, you can mute. You can even listen. The other day, in fact, I sound like an old man now, but I was like, oh, you can actually influence your algorithm on social media. You can influence your feed. You can influence what shows up. And I went into my little profile, editing my profile. I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know that you could block certain things and do all kinds. So you can control what comes in your feed. And a lot of people have chosen, listen, I only want people that come into my feed talking about finances because I'm struggling with my finances. And so there are a lot of people who say, you know what, if people are going to add value to my life, I want to be able to consume content that's going to help me make better financial decisions. There are people who say, you know what, I need some relational information, some relationship information with my kids or with my spouse. And so their feed, their search window, their feed only brings to them things that's going to help them in that area. You can choose who you turn off and you can choose who you leave on. You can choose that. I don't want to hear all this. No. Just as advanced as the world is advanced enough for you to be able to click a button and say, you know what? I don't want that noise coming my way. And not just on social media. I would encourage you to do that in real life. And some of you don't want to do this because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. Oh, what danger it is for you to make decisions in your life based upon how someone else is going to feel as you are striving to do something that's best for you and yours. Oh, man. How many times I've sat with people who were depressed. They were disappointed because they made a decision to stop hanging with somebody or stop spending a lot of time with somebody. And that person began to slander their name. They begin to talk bad about this person thinks that they're better than us, or she thinks or he thinks this. Let them talk. Hear me out. And you already know that I'm a Jesus follower, and they talked about Jesus. In fact, the Bible says he came into his own, and his own received him not. They're going to talk about you if you do something good. They're going to talk about you if you do something that's not good. Let people talk. I need you, because we're just about halfway through the year. I need you to take inventory of these last 5 to 6 months in 2026 and ask yourself, who in my life that I've been hanging with, who has been adding value and who's been sucking the wind out of me? Who's been bringing me hope? Who's been giving me great ideas? Who's been building with me? And who's been tearing down? See, there are a lot of people we hang out with who it's almost like comfort food. Yeah. You know how it is. You know what you should be. In fact, somebody did a nice little reel. They were talking about how they, and it's funny. I think it's applicable now. I think it was 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐽, who is former NFL player, former studio analyst for one of these football networks, and now he's super blowing up with his own show called Speakeasy, right? I think they did some layoffs at Fox Sports, and he was a part of that network group of people who got laid off, and so he's making his way doing his own content. But he did a reel, and he showed, like, for instance, it may not be accurate, but he showed a piece of chicken breast, and he said, this every day, right? Then he showed a piece of, let's say, fried chicken, and he said, this once a week. Then he showed a picture of like a big bowl of ice cream with like 6 or 7 cookies. He said, this once a month. In other words, he said, the thing that's best for me, I eat it every day, right? He talked about that chicken breast, and I think I had a little bit of broccoli beside it. I eat this every day. The thing that's not so good for me, right? That fried chicken, I eat a little bit once a week. But then my ice cream and cookies, I know that's all the way nothing but sugar. All is tearing me down. I like it though. I eat it once a month. See, there's some people that need to be in communication with you every single day. There's some people who may not bring you good news, but you can give them a little bit of good news once a week. And there's some people who you should only connect with once a month, because that's all you can handle at this point based on what they offer and what you can give to them. You should spend more time, I'm trying to tell you, trying to build upon who you are, trying to become who you're supposed to be, than you should sitting around looking at social media, judging what other people are not, or what they are doing through the lens in which you're watching them. So let me implore you. Let me encourage you to identify the environments that truly shape your success and spend more time in those environments. Now, we can spend a whole episode talking about success and what the definition of success is for certain people. Some people's definition of success has everything to do with money. Some people's definition of success has everything to do with family. Some people put a lot of emphasis on education, and all of those things are wonderful, right? And when we think about success, if you get money, if you get education, and you leave your family behind, you got to ask yourself, was it worth it? I think it was Larry Miller, who was once the owner of the Utah Jazz, talked about how he worked his fingers to the bones to become a billionaire. 90-hour weeks, grinding, traveling, but missed recitals, missed school soccer games, missed graduations, and his kids didn't want to have anything. He's passed away now, but they didn't want to have anything to do with him because he wasn't there. He gave financial stuff to them, money, free rides, cars, all that stuff was fine and dandy. But to them, that wasn't success. The other week, I had to travel for work as I was providing training for a group of teachers on the East Coast. My wife had to travel because of a family emergency, and my son had to stay back with my brother-in-law, and he was just super duper confused as to why mommy was gone, and then mommy came back and immediately daddy left, and then the following week it reversed, and he just wasn't having it. The second week he almost broke down, and so I had to travel the third week, and I said, you know what? He needs to go with us. In fact, I want to take all the credit. My wife and I decided together, hey, he needs to go with us because he's missing us, right? Even though you have to go work, and I'm blessed to be able to take my family with me every now and then. And when I can, I need to capitalize on that even more. Why? Because these moments are precious. My son is already 5. And it's crazy because when we started this podcast, my son was 3. You follow me? My son, that this time is just moving. It's moving. My 2nd year anniversary for this podcast is next month. And as time is moving, as time is fleeting, those things that are important, that feed me, those things that are really, really the picture of success, I want to spend more time doing those things. So ask yourself this week, what 3 things in my life are helping me to grow? And what 3 things in my life are stunting my growth? Make one intentional swap. Take out those things that are stunting your growth and replace them. Do more of the things that are helping you to grow. In fact, if you can, let me know in the comments what it is that you're going to try and do that you can swap. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know down in the comments. Let me know. Here's the one thing that is not serving me well, but here's the thing that's serving me well. I'm going to do more of what's serving me well so I can grow and develop and become everything I was born to be. Send this out to somebody who's struggling with success. Send this out to somebody that you know needs to take inventory of what's helping them to grow and develop and what's stopping them from growing and developing, and watch their lives be impacted by what it is that we discussed today. I hope that you were impacted. I hope that you were given some insight that's going to help you go, grow, and glow. Please keep tuning in. Please keep leaving reviews. Please rating our podcast. Our podcast is hot. Listen, it is growing on Spotify thanks to you. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your time, and thank you so much for your attention. I'll see you next week when we come back together for another episode. Take care. Peace.